Well, joining me now is Republican Congressman of North Carolina, Madison Cawthorn is here. Congressman, it is great to have you back on the program.
Always a pleasure to be on with you, brother.
So I wanted to ask you straight out, because you are now calling for Dr. Fauci to be fired. Why don't you tell me why?
Well, one, I believe that the terrible mismanagement he's had and really his changing of really it seems to be whichever way the wind is blowing on his recommendations to the American people is terrible. Especially when you started seeing him say, oh, masks don't actually do anything to help prevent this, which we know the efficacy rates of any mask, especially cloth ones over people's faces to prevent COVID-19 is simply just not there. But really, I believe that he should be criminally prosecuted for lying to Congress. As we all know, it's a crime to do so, which is surprising because Congress so often lies to the American people. I think it should work both ways. But
well, I'm with you on that one for sure, and it rarely does. There are a few good ones up there, like yourself, Madison, that is telling the straight talk, which we need, because we get Fauci offering up stuff like this to CNN. You know, I've been pushing for antibodies to be accepted as a defense, at least for the China virus, but they want to ignore antibodies and only the vaccine. Well, listen to Dr. Fauci on that.
As we talk about vaccine mandates, I get calls all the time. People say, I've already had COVID. I'm protected, and now the study says maybe even more protected than the vaccine alone. Should they also get the vaccine? How do you make the case to them?
You know, that's a really good point, Sanjay. I don't have a really firm answer for you on that.
Well, clearly he's not watching this program because we're talking about it's true. Antibodies are the best defense against this virus. He doesn't have an answer because I think it's all about the vaccine, Congressman.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. Really, I think you're starting to see this person who is the highest paid government employee in our federal government, who now doesn't have answers when directly relating to what is a better way to defend against COVID-19. Is it with antibodies or is it with the COVID-19 vaccine? I almost sometimes hesitate to even call it a vaccine just because of the way it was rushed to market with so few long-term trials and so few trials to even speak of at all. But when you start seeing everything that he's saying, when he's starting to say that, oh, well, I don't have a really great firm answer for you, it's because he knows he can't just sit up there and lie because the studies are very clear. Having naturally occurring antibodies from actually recovering from COVID-19 is the best defense against it. And so when I start seeing him get up there and say, oh, well, I don't have a really firm answer for you, that tells me that perhaps, whether it's Pfizer, whether it's Johnson & Johnson, or whatever vaccine company it is, perhaps they're trying to get a little kickback to these people to make sure they're saying, hey, you know what, after you finish the government, maybe you can come work for us. I mean, it was not unheard of in Washington, D.C.
No, it sure isn't. Follow the money usually leads you to the answers to your questions in Washington and most state capitals around the country. Look, most people don't have the ability like I do. I'm blessed to be able to interview a congressman and voice my concerns to a national audience. Fauci's now talking about a vaccine mandate for air travel. I've got friends, I've got family all over this country I'd like to go visit. Listen to Fauci on this.
It seems to me crazy that a year and a half into this, I can still get on a plane to Boston or California and nobody's going to check me. Do you think that needs to change?
Well, that's under consideration, certainly. I mean, I have been asked that question, and it actually got some play in the press when I made the answer. I think that if, in fact, it is seriously considered, it's on the table.
On the table, Madison Cawthorn. Look, you're not going to stop me from seeing my family and talk about the economies that would be killed if you shut down air travel to those unvaccinated. Is there anything you and other Republicans and maybe even some Democrats can do to stop that from happening?
We are fighting very hard with every legal means of really trying to push back against this that we have at our disposal. Unfortunately, with the way that our Constitution is written, unless we have 51% of the vote in Washington, we're really incapable with going against the majority to do something in Congress. But you know what? I think that the American people should really, and as someone who has an audience just like you do, to where we can speak to millions of Americans at one time, we should be encouraging them to reject this. This is a medical apartheid, plain and simple. There's over 100 million Americans who are not vaccinated. I think it's even more than that. And if they want to start shutting down air travel for these people to get around the country, I think that's actually a constitutional violation, because you actually have a constitutionally protected right to free, unrestricted travel within the United States of America. And I genuinely believe that what's going on right now is that all that's going to happen if United Airlines and American Airlines and Delta even, if they decide to start requiring vaccine mandates, let me tell you, I'm very confident there will be another air carrier that will come to the field, and patriots like myself and you will give them all of our business.
Well, I hope you're correct on that. I don't want it to ever get to that point, though, because, look, there's not even any evidence that's being spread on planes either. So, Congressman Madison Cawthorn, again, great to see you. Thank you. Keep up the fight up there in Washington.
It's an honor, brother, as always. Talk to you soon.